Welcome everybody to a new live stream of Flower Circus Talks. Today we have a very special episode. We're going to talk with Joey Azout from Alexandra Farms. They grow the most fantastic roses, and not only they grow fantastic roses, he has a great story to tell about them as well. So let's quickly invite him into the live stream. Joey, welcome.
Good morning. How are you? Hi, John.
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm under the circumstances very well, thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where we meet. I can always see you with a smile, so it's a good sign. So, did you survive the Mother's Day chaos this year, and how did you survive it?
Well, Mother's Day is important for us, but the wedding season is more important for us. And the wedding
Yeah,
season has been canceled this year. There's no
yeah,
wedding season for us. So we've been hit pretty hard by the situation. We've
yeah,
had to reduce our costs, reduce our labor, um, and it's been pretty tough.
yeah. Yeah, actually, the latest news that I hear from Europe that some of the weddings, the smaller weddings, probably can go on at the end of the summer. So let's hope for that. And I hope you can hear me, Joey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now again.
The hopefully the weddings that weren't held in June and May and April are going to be held in August, September, and October. Now they probably won't be as big and as fancy,
Yeah,
but maybe there'll be more weddings than usual those months, and it'll help us get out of these doldrums. We're
yeah,
we're really looking for demand anywhere in the world of our flowers, just anywhere,
yeah,
and I encourage florists to be creative and get out there and sell flowers in any way they can. I know that some are delivering with touchless platforms, using their web pages, their Instagram accounts, and that really feeds the entire industry. It helps us all, from the breeder all the way through to the consumer, that florists are being
yeah,
creative and selling flowers out there.
yeah. They're not only being creative, making new designs, they're creative in the way they sell as well. So that's really great.
Right.
Uh, Alison Bradley saying hello to you, and Willie's there as
Hi,
well.
Allison. How are you?
You're more famous than ever. So
Yeah.
now the wedding season, of course, is very important for you. I mean, you've got such fantastic roses that it's mostly used for events. But I think as a florist, you could stand out of the crowd while using your roses in normal designs, or not normal designs, because then it's becoming a special design.
Yeah, especially in the States or in England, where the supermarkets have taken a lot of a percentage of the florist business. The florist has to differentiate
Yeah,
himself from, and they can do that in two ways, right, John? They can be very creative in their designs, and they can use different kinds of flowers. And garden roses are one of the tools that helps florists differentiate themselves from supermarkets. And I encourage florists to use these for everyday work. They're not as expensive as people think they are, and they have a vase life that is appropriate for vase work.
yeah,
And I'm sure the end consumer will see the difference, will smell the difference, and will appreciate it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you say they're not as expensive as people think, but no matter the price, you get the smell, you get the scent, you get a great rose, an exclusive rose. So you're doubling, yeah, the amount people want to pay for a bouquet, and
And
that's for sure.
one of the things we look for in the varieties that we select is performance in the vase. That's something that few farms look at, but I think it's an important part of the experience of the consumer. So when you get up on Monday and you have a tight flower, and then Tuesday it's a little more open, and Wednesday more open, and by Friday it's huge, and just showing you all of its beauty and splendor, that makes a difference. That makes you feel like you interacted with a rose, and it makes it, I think, much more appealing.
Yeah, I mean, even on your website, you're showing them in different cutting stages. I mean, that's fantastic to show the
They were
people how they open.
it was a great innovation to do that, and we realized that a lot head they're small usually, and the buds aren't open at all, and you don't really see the value until the fourth day, the
Yeah.
fifth day, and so we had to show that because people wouldn't believe us.
Yeah, I mean, but it's really great for the florist. All the information you got on your website about cutting states, about so many things. More actually, I will try to find it as well. Constance, you even got the Pantone colors over there. So how easy can it be for yeah, for somebody who has to do an event or a wedding and get the right colors out there as well?
Yeah, each one of our roses listed on the webpage has one or two Pantone colors that are associated with that flower. It's not exact because garden roses tend to change their colors a little bit. That's why we usually have two colors.
Yeah,
But you're pretty safe by choosing a variety if you have the Pantone.
yeah,
And another thing I wanted to say is that a lot of florists are a little bit worried about letting the flowers open before they use them because they might open too much. What we suggest is people to take them out of the cooler after they've hydrated them overnight in a cooler. Take them out the next
yeah,
day.
yeah,
Let's say it's a Wednesday, and leave them out until Saturday. Now, if the flowers are opening up too quickly, they can put them back in the cooler to slow them down. But
yeah,
you really get your values worth and your dollars worth when the flowers are open, at least until day 4 in the pictures. That's when
yeah.
you get the true value.
Yeah, yeah, that's that. But it's a great idea to yeah, just let them open. If they go almost too far, you put them back in the cooler.
Right.
Uh, Also, great idea to mention a substitute. I mean, if people the variety that comes close, there's so much inspiration on your webpage, so much information on your website. It's really great.
Thank you. We've worked hard
Yeah,
at it because we want people, florists, to feel comfortable using our roses even before they've ever seen them. We want them to
yeah,
know about them even before. That way they feel
yeah,
comfortable making the purchase.
yeah. Caroline is saying they're worth every penny. And having seen the farm personally, there's an incredible backstory for customers.
I
And
want
that's that.
everybody to know that I did not pay Carolyn anything to say this. This is coming from her voluntarily.
Yeah. Oh, maybe a bunch of roses later.
For sure.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, you've got so many great stories. I don't even know where to start. Um, the logo, maybe we
What?
can start over there. The logo,
Sure.
where does it come from?
Sure. When we first started, I named the farm after my daughter, and my daughter was 2 years old. And we were a farm that was going to grow specialty type roses. And so when we asked the designer to design a logo for us, she thought that it would be nice to use like a child's font in the original logo. After a lot of trial and error and testing and trying, we realized that our roses weren't specialty roses. The roses we specialized in were wedding
Yeah.
roses, romantic and beautiful and fragrant wedding roses. And then the logo didn't work anymore. So when we were looking for an inspiration for our logo, we read a lot of coffee table books about roses, and we found a particularly appealing story. It turns out that Josephine de Bonaparte, Napoleon's wife, had a
Yeah.
house in the south of France called Malmaison, where she collected roses. She was the first garden rose collector in the world. She had 300 varieties planted in her gardens that Napoleon would send from wherever he was conquering that week. Um, but those roses were in the 1800s, and they weren't very good bloomers. So when she had guests, maybe 5 or 6 of the varieties were blooming at the time, and she couldn't show them to everybody. She was very frustrated. So she hired Jean-Philippe Redouté from Belgium to come and spend a year at Malmaison and draw
Yeah.
every variety she had when it was fully open to draw it in these botanical designs. Yes, like that. And that was our inspiration for our logo, and it's also our inspiration for the roses we grow. If you look at his designs, a lot of these old-fashioned cup-shaped roses that open
Yeah,
is what we do, and it's what we grow. And there was a time where we marketed our roses with a reduté design next to it, which was
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. It looks great. The story is great behind it. I mean, that's what every florist should know. I mean,
Yes.
can you imagine making a bouquet with your garden roses and telling the people about it? If they give it away as a gift, they don't only have a really great design or a great bouquet, they have a great story to tell as well.
Stories sell flowers and everything else. The more
Yeah,
stories we can add to our product line, I think the more romance, the more creative, and the more selling tools we allow people.
yeah. I think somebody suggest a new name for on your business card, a roseologist.
Well, there's so much. Roses are an incredible, huge sector in the world. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of varieties. Were
Oh, sorry.
they've been on this planet for 10,000 years. There's fossils of roses. There are
Wow.
there are fossils of varieties found in every continent in the world.
Yeah,
Roses are the national flower of the United States. They're the national flower of France. They've been bred for hundreds of years. I mean, roses are a really big deal, and there's so much information about them found all over the world.
yeah. Yeah, and actually, you're getting them from all over the world. I mean, you're looking for breeders all over the world.
Yeah, when we first started, John, it was really hard to find varieties that had the characteristics we wanted. And one of our taglines before was to bring back the romance of fragrance, of performance in the vase, and of these old-fashioned cup shapes. We had
Yeah,
a tough time finding some, so we put together a system of trial and selecting um, that forced us to go all over the world. We have Japanese varieties, we have Dutch varieties, German, French, English. We have varieties from Denmark, we have varieties from Australia, we have varieties from New Zealand, United States, of course. In our search for that perfect rose and that perfect color that has the vase life, has the fragrance, and has the performance. And we started with six varieties in 2006, 2007, and we have 60 varieties of garden roses now.
yeah, yeah. Wow. And they are
So
all.
a florist has a great depth of choice, right? We had our first white wasn't white. It wasn't fragrant. It didn't open. It was called Mitos. It was an ivory. It was a pretty rose, but it didn't have any of the features that our six white varieties have now.
Yeah,
So we've come a long way, and florists have a great options of finding the color, the tone, the texture, the fragrance they're looking for.
yeah. Actually, you're really testing everything with the roses, and you got the whole team testing out those things. I mean,
Yeah,
that's great.
and a lot of times we've noticed, John, that some people think that at Alexandra Farms we have this vision, we have this thing, but the truth is that we learn by trial and error,
Yeah,
and we invite a lot of guests to the farm, influencers or people that win our design contest. We invite them to the farm to help us figure out what they like. So a lot of times something that we would have discarded because it was a brown muddy color turns out to
yeah,
be a huge hit because that's what designers are looking for, or
yeah,
vice versa. Of course, the green spray rose that I love so much nobody else likes, and it's a dog. So there really isn't that much of a vision as much as there is a collaboration with influencers and designers of developing things that designers need and designers are looking for.
yeah. Yeah, actually, Willie is saying as well, the best reason to visit the farms is Joe will allow you to wander to the test beds where you can pick the roses and which you like best, and they have to tell you why as well.
Well, we have this block of test varieties. It's a greenhouse where we allow the roses to open fully.
Yeah,
So it's a garden of roses. It's beautiful, and it has roses from all over the world. And there's only maybe 10 or 30 plants of every variety, and there must be 50 varieties just there. So it's what people love to wander through there, and I tell them that they have to bring me back one rose. They have to select from all those 100 varieties in there one that they
Yeah.
like, and they bring it back. And of course, they usually bring back two or three, and they can't decide.
Yeah.
But it's great fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I can
And that
imagine. I mean,
reminds me,
it's
John, I should encourage people to participate. I want to encourage people to participate in our Garden Rose Design Contest because the first prize is a trip to the farm. And you can go into our new varieties block if you win the
yeah.
contest. This is the third year we're holding it. We've always been surprised by the amount of people that participate. It's really wonderful. And we were going to cancel it because of this corona thing, but we decided that no,
Yeah.
let's keep the energy. Let's get the florists who might be at home with not a lot to do motivated to create something beautiful and participate in this year's contest. It's one contest all over the world. We used to have a one for Russia and one for the States. Now it's just one, and the first prize is still a trip to the farm in 2021.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are three prizes. Also, second prize is 500 roses, I think, if I'm
Second
correct.
prize is 500 garden roses.
Yeah. So actually, if you go to the website, there you can register and read all about it. So yeah, I really encourage people, be creative. I mean, everybody is in a creative mood at the moment because we need to change things. So yeah, let's join the contest as well. Alison is also promoting it for you, and I saw that Caroline was doing the same. So I
Wonderful.
think
Thank you all guys so much for being on this chat and for supporting us. I really appreciate it. Especially in these times where it's a little bit disheartening because of all the struggles we're going through.
yeah, but I mean, the florists need the growers need the florists. We're in it together, and we need to get, and we can only get out together. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, in times like these you realize that the engine of the industry are the florists, and the demand that they create with their hard work is what generates business for everybody, all up the chain, all the way up to the breeder. And we
Yeah,
realize how important everybody is in the chain in times like these.
yeah. I heard a story you were talking about traveling all over the world and the breeders. You were in Japan, you were chasing a Japanese man for his varieties for how many years? For 2, 3 years?
It must have been 4 years before we actually got his varieties in our farm. And it's a funny story because we would go to Japan as an export company, and we realized that the rose products that the Japanese were growing were similar to ours. And at one trade show, there was this where we had a big stand. There was an area for Japanese producers, and there was this thin old Japanese man in front of a small table, and he had four varieties in front of him, and they
Yeah,
were some of the most beautiful varieties that I had ever seen. I mean, the David Austin varieties are gorgeous and beautiful, and these were just as nice. And I was looking at him, and I was trying to converse in Japanese. I realized that he was not listening to me at all. I was a foreigner. I was just not. The next year, I went back and I saw him again, and we exchanged cards, and I wrote him emails. On the third year, John, I was able to get the a member of the Embassy of Colombia to accompany me and translate.
yeah,
And when he gave his card to the Japanese man, everything changed. He realized that I don't know. I guess I was important, or that the embassy was behind us, or that it was official in some way. And that's when we started. We started with the Japanese breeders, and it's worked really well because there's few people that have access to these roses, and they're absolutely gorgeous. You can see on our webpage our Princess line and our Wabara line. Those are mostly Japanese roses that we found on those trips.
yeah. Here you can see the poster with all the varieties on it as well. It's a little bit small here because I can't make a bigger poster, but they are over there as well. So, and you can also download this one actually on the website. There's a question from Cookie is asking, what's your view on the David Austin varieties grown in Kenya?
Well, I know that David Austin made a very comprehensive study of the different growers in all the different areas in the world that were interested in growing David Austin roses, and he picked what he considered to be the four best farms in the world, right?
Yeah,
Tambuzi in Kenya, us in Colombia, Rosa Prima and Agri Rose in Ecuador, and we all have to stick to certain standards. I know that uh, Tambuzi in the beginning had varieties that weren't that great. He was a tester for David, and some of those varieties didn't work very well in the market. But nowadays, Tambuzi is growing some beautiful varieties, and they have two farms. One at a higher altitude that's really made this quality a lot better.
yeah. Okay. Merel saying, love your passion. That's what this industry is all about.
Well, I want to tell Meryl something. Thank you for that, Marilyn. I was very depressed, Meryl, during the whole month of April. But one day, I don't know what it was exactly, maybe the beauty of the roses, we had to decide whether we were going to go ahead and launch the new varieties for 2021 as we had planned. And that
Yeah,
day, I was encouraged by the beauty of these new spray roses that we're launching, and that has motivated me to keep going. We have six new spray varieties launching in 2021 in the most amazing and hip colors you can imagine. And they're secret yet. They're not on the webpage. They're not on the poster. They're only a couple of people that have been to the farm have seen them yet. But we're so excited about it and encouraged, and we want to add excitement in this time. So none of our
yeah.
innovation has stopped because of Corona. None of it.
That's really good to hear. I mean, and yeah, you're getting bigger in spray roses now.
But we only have one spray rose after
And
20 years. We've been in business since 2006, 14 years in business. We never planted any spray rose until last year when I found a green rose called Princess Midori that I absolutely loved. Nobody else, John, liked it at the time,
yeah,
and maybe nobody's gonna like it, but it was our first spray. But after that, we found these colors in spray roses that we couldn't get in regular roses. And what made us grow the sprays was the color. I don't think that, I mean, some people prefer standards, some people prefer sprays, but if the color is right, that's
yeah,
what's going to increase the merit. And these colors are awesome.
yeah. The colors and the fragrance. I mean, that's. And then you're going to create a market on itself. That's for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
and yeah,
2021 is going to be a wonderful year. We just have to make
yeah.
sure that we survive to get there.
And that all the couples who are planning to get married this year don't end up in a fight.
Right. They keep getting along.
Just at least for a year. That should help the business. Caroline is asking, was that the green you showed at the IFTF?
Yes, yes, that was Princess Midori, and that one's been around quite a while, and it's still not selling very well. Carolyn, please promote it.
But actually, it has a very good vase life.
It
Because
does. It
I
does.
tested them as well here, and I think it was one of the best performing.
Did you? How did you use that particular variety, John, in arrangements?
I can't even remember. No, we didn't have it for the show. I had it for the test. You sent it me for the test, and yeah, I like it. I mean, but yeah, I'm also a crazy guy, so maybe that's why I like it. So, and that's also a thing that I want to tell to all the florists out there. I'm working now with Joey, and he said, okay, before we start, I want you to see my roses. I want you to smell the roses. I just want you to enjoy them. And then I've got some florists in the family and friends, and then they said, it's not going to work. They last for a few days. No, they last for over a week, up to 2 weeks. It was unbelievable. We actually, it was between Christmas and New Year, and we didn't have transport, so they were longer on the way than they should. But still, we enjoyed them for I think 10 days or more. So I mean, that's something that was many years ago that the vase life wasn't as good as people would hoped. But now the vase life is great as well. So that's
That is the reason that Alexandra Farms has been successful is that we've selected varieties that work in the vase before anything else.
yeah,
That is the veto of the varieties we choose, and we've discarded some beauties because they only last 4 or 5 days. Some Mayon, huge fragrant varieties, they just don't last. We can't grow them, and
yeah,
that selection process is what has allowed us to be successful because we ship all over the world. We need that vase life, and all of our varieties are tested.
yeah,
After 4 days in the cooler, they need to have 8 days in the vase.
yeah. Yeah, I read the story on the website as well. It's Pilar who's doing all the testing, and then yeah, she says she still sometimes has to cry if there's a really great variety but doesn't meet up with the standards.
Yes, it's
And
awful
yeah,
when that situation happens, and it happens often. But then again,
yeah,
it's often when we do find a variety that has a fragrance and a vase life, and we prove everybody wrong.
yeah, but that's the thing. Talking about fragrance, can you distinguish every rose by its scent?
There's the O'Haras have a particular rose scent that is what I would think is the most common rose scent. So I would say that of our 30 varieties, maybe six smell the same. But
Yeah,
then you start getting all kinds of different. Beatrice smells like honey. Miyuki smells like pear juice. Some of the David Austin roses smell like anisette.
yeah,
So yes, there are different fragrances, and none of them, they're all mixed. It's like if when you're trying a very wines, and although some of them are similar, some of them are very different, and you can actually taste different scents inside each one of them.
yeah,
But and roses are also a bit finicky about when they release their fragrance, right? They need to be warm and they need to be open to a certain
yeah,
extent, and that's when you'll get the most fragrance. When they're tight and cold, they won't smell as much as when they're in the room and at home and
yeah.
open.
So he actually also told me, and I think it was in Japan, that they have a fragrance, so you can choose your roses.
Yes, and I was very impressed with how sophisticated that market was. When a bride goes into a flower shop to select the roses for their wedding, they're given choices based on fragrance as well as colors. So she can decide whether she likes the anisette or the lavender fragrance more, and then they'll show her the colors that have those fragrances. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a really new way and a whole new experience of getting a bride to choose her flowers.
Yes,
I
it sure
mean,
is, and it makes her choices. It gives her more choices and more
yeah,
more things to expect from her wedding.
yeah, and I mean to talk about it and to enjoy it. I mean, it's again, it's a great story again yeah to sell more roses and to do so. So I mean, that's great. So yeah, it's you the way you are growing is also special. I mean, the varieties, of course, are not. They are selected by their beauty, by their scent. While a lot of rose growers are just looking at the yield per square meter. That's why I think over the years we also lost the scent in the roses.
Well, that was one of the things that encouraged us to start Alexandra Farms. I had been a trader of roses and a grower of mini carnations for years, and I always found that the varieties that customers were looking for, if they weren't productive, they would disappear from the markets. But I would tell growers, wait, maybe we can get a better price so that even if it doesn't produce as much, you'll still have the same sales per square meter. Now,
Yeah,
sometimes some varieties you'd have to sell them for $10 a stem, but in many cases, that extra 20% or 30% that people are willing to pay pays off for that decrease in productivity. So, in our case, our entire farm has terrible productivity, terrible. We're only able to survive because we charge nice prices for them.
Yeah.
And people are willing to pay the higher prices because they get a fantastic, fragrant, beautiful performing rose.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go and work one day in a flower shop, and if you give somebody a bouquet or people get a bouquet, the first thing they do is put their nose in the bouquet because they want to smell the flowers.
Yeah, always, always.
And yeah, and during the shows, we got so many questions. Why don't the roses smell anymore? Why is this? Why is that? Um, in Holland, actually, there's the historical garden in Aalsmeer, and that's actually where some of the breeders they went back to that garden to start to crossbreed with varieties which were already 400 or 500 years old, just
Wow.
to get the scent back into the roses again.
Right. But it the roses had a scent originally because, like many flowers, they need to attract pollinators. So they had,
Yeah,
but as growers started growing the roses further and further away from the markets that consume them, the roses had to be hardier and hardier. And many times the fragrance is associated with ethylene, which is associated with ripening of the rose. So breeders would find that there was a relationship between fragrance and low vase life. So they started
yeah,
breeding fragrance out of the roses, which was great because it allows Ecuadorians and Colombians to export to Moscow. But we lost fragrance in the process, and that was very
yeah,
sad. So it's not that fragrance wasn't there originally. We bred it out. Now we're bringing it back in.
yeah, yeah. But it's
And we've,
something.
of course, selected varieties that have a fragrance.
Yeah, I mean that is something when you buy a car and you notice that there's no wheels on it because people expect the flowers to smell.
They
So how
sure do.
many people get disappointed? I mean,
Very many.
it's yeah. So and luckily
Yeah.
you are growing now. I think it's you're on 16 hectares at the moment, right?
Well, we were at 20 hectares in January and we're at 16 hectares today. We
Yeah,
had to make some very hard choices in order to survive, and that is what we're going to do. We're going to survive, and whatever it takes, we're going to survive. And one of the things it takes was to reduce our acreage. There's no market for our roses. We don't expect there to be a market for our roses, all our roses, for some months. So why
yeah,
produce it? Why have any expense in that area? So we reduced our acreage by 4 hectares.
yeah. That's. But I think
We'll grow that
yeah,
again in
as a fruit,
2021.
yeah, with the new varieties and the spray varieties.
Right, right, right.
No, it's something that I think every florist should have it in their store. And my uncle had a flower store, and he always had something crazy every week. We had a lot of people coming in, and we had 4 flower shops in the same street, and all at
Wow.
more or less the same price. But we had something crazy every week. So people came in and asked, "What's the crazy thing over there, or what's the specialty this week?" We talked about it, and sometimes it was a crazy plant, sometimes it was a very expensive heliconia or something like that. And people said, "Wow, wow." No, but just give me the tulips or just give me the roses. People came in, but at least we had a story to tell. Look, this is grown there, this is this. And if you have it with your roses, and I mean, you've got 60 varieties, so every week of the year as a florist, you can have a different variety from Alexandra Farms in your shop.
Yes.
And every week you can tell something and say, okay, just smell this rose. I mean,
If you have a weekly standing order, if you're a florist and the household has a weekly standing order, you can have a different variety in that household every week of the year, and
yeah,
and and they'll perform in the vase for them. The consumer will be thrilled with garden
yeah,
roses in that situation.
yeah, I'm
And
for
we
sure.
actually do
I'm,
that with my mom, my mother-in-law, and a couple of others. We send them a variety every week, and they're always thrilled with all the different colors and all the different fragrances. It's fabulous.
yeah. And actually, the way you pack your flowers, and that's my compliments. I mean, every stem is right. There is good ripeness. I read that in your greenhouse, there's one person per bed. He's responsible for that part of the. Is it that's true?
Yes, we assign beds to people because there has to be an accountability of how those plants are treated. Rose plants are very interactive. when you look at it, you can see its history. You know where it's been cut, where it's been pruned, what's been done to it, and you know that if you cut in this part here, you're going to get a bud from this part here in exactly 3 weeks, and it's going to produce a flower in exactly 12 weeks. Um,
Yeah.
and when a person is involved in their beds, they create a relationship with the plants that they're
Yeah.
growing. They know that if they cut here, if they cut there, they're going to get flowers here and there, and they become specialists in that area. And they take pride in keeping that area weedless and keeping all this budding up to date. I think a lot of farms use that method, and people appreciate it. People like it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. And this is also something you do. You put a net around the roses.
Yeah, every variety that we grow wasn't bred for commercial production, so we've had to find creative ways of making sure they produce. And one of the big enemies of garden roses is botrytis. And
Yeah.
botrytis sprays aren't very eco-friendly and they're expensive. And so one of the ways we decided to combat botrytis was having a physical barrier that doesn't allow the botrytis spore to get on the petal. And so we put these surgical mask material. Knows what a surgical mask material is? It has a very doesn't allow things in like spores. Uh,
Oh, I think we lost you a bit over there. Can you repeat the last part again, Joey, for us? Can you repeat the last part again? Because we lost you a little bit. I couldn't hear you actually. So you were talking about the masks. Can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me. I will quickly reconnect. Uh, Here we are again. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
there. Yes, I
Yeah.
can.
I lost you a little bit when you say you were talking about the surgery masks. Uh,
Oh, so we in order to combat botrytis, which is our biggest enemy, we found a way of doing it without so much pesticide use, and
yeah.
that was by placing a bag of this surgical fabric on mask fabric on every single flower of certain varieties from the day they start showing color until the day they're cut. It takes a lot of work to do this, but we reduce
Yeah.
significantly our pesticide use, which is so important for the environment.
Yeah.
And we have
Yeah.
special industrial washing machines so that we can use these 4 or 5 times each. We don't just throw them away.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. But like you said, it's quite labor intensive as well.
Yes, very. And there's other varieties that we have to prune in a different way or plant with a different density. Each of the 60 varieties has been a learning curve, has had a learning curve
Yeah.
associated with it, and so I must give a lot of credit to our production people for figuring out exactly how to grow each one.
Yeah. I mean, that's like you said. Most of the varieties weren't for commercial breeding,
Right.
so you need to figure everything out yourself, and that's a challenge, but a nice one, I think. Uh, Once the roses are cut and they are packed, I noticed in the packets that the name of the woman or the man who packed it is in there.
Yeah, we've every there's a small label that's put into the bunch that has when we first started doing this, people would call asking for the variety with that name, thinking that it was the variety name. So we would have Maria Beatriz Delgado Zamorra as a variety name. That was funny. So we had to make a big sticker that said These roses were hand bunched and graded by, so
Yeah.
that people realized that it was in. And that when a person is making a bunch and they know that they're going to put their name on it, I think they do a much better job.
Yeah.
And of course, it does allow us to get feedback from the end customer if something is wrong. But mostly, it's because the person does it with pride when they put their name on it. It's like signing a drawing. You're going to do it better if you have to sign it.
Yeah. That's for
And they're
sure. But
very proud of having their name exported. By the way,
yeah.
I've heard them say to each other, I, I exported to New York just today with my name on them, and they went to Japan.
Yeah. But yeah,
Uh-oh.
that's really nice to see and to have your name yeah, flying all over the world. And like you said, people are proud of it. And if you sign your name under it, you want to make sure that it's a good product. And like I said, I mean, getting your flowers in, opening the box, it's like opening a present. The way they are packed, the way they are presented, it's great.
Thank you.
I think still a lot of growers all over the world can learn a lot from you in terms of growing, packing, marketing wise as well. I think. I mean, your stand is always one of the busier ones at exhibitions.
That's because our salespeople are very beautiful, as well as
Uh,
the flower.
as well as the flowers, yeah. That's why I am very lucky that in Moscow we're neighbors. No, it's yeah, it's. I mean, this is. I cannot say it enough. This is something.
That's right.
Yeah. As a florist, you should buy these flowers. I mean, to stand out of the competition, out of the supermarkets, things like that. You're creative. These flowers will help you with that as well a lot. Get them in. They are worth their money. Uh, absolutely. I mean, this is yeah a no-brainer. I can call it. You need to get them in. And yeah, do you have more stories to tell, Joey? Or
And
can
there's
you,
60 varieties, so if we have the rest of the day, maybe I can tell you all 60.
yeah, that's true. I can
But
I can
I'll tell you some of the. If you look at our poster, there's a variety there called Sabrina, for example. That's just one.
yeah
In the hard task of looking for varieties, I found myself in the south of France with a breeder called Mayand, that has its breeding facility and its growing facility in the south of France. It's very hard work, John, to be in the south of France enjoying the wines and the food and looking for rose varieties. It's very hard work, but somebody
yeah
has to do it, so I
yeah
volunteered. And as we were there viewing all the greenhouses, I found a variety that was very nice, and I asked Pierre, I really want to grow that. He said, "No, I'm sorry. If you want to grow that, you have to pay $1 million because Russian has bought the exclusive rights to that for $1 million. So unless you pay me more than he does, you can't have access to that." I said, "Okay, let's let the Russian have that variety. And what about this one?" He said, "Well, that's a rambler that it's a climber that probably won't work as a cut flower." I said, "Wow, but its shape is so pretty and it's had the perfect tone of pink." He said, "Well, I can give you some budwood and you can try it."
yeah
We were able to take that down to the farm. Our production people, Roberto and Pilar, were wonderful in finding a way of producing 6 stems and 40 or 56 life work. And it's a fantastic variety. It's called Sabrina. And it's a button, shallow cupped rose that is just fantastic. And it was pure luck that I happened to be in that greenhouse on that day, and we were stubborn enough to try it.
yeah yeah. But that's
That's Sabrina's story.
yeah Actually, Caroline is asking, have you got some supply coming into the UK at the moment?
UK via Holland, the Floral Visions and the Van Vliets have access through Holland. Our distributor in the UK, I think, is starting off this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So yes, there are a few of our roses available in England at this time.
Okay.
And more so, I found that a lot of customers are slowly opening up and starting. So on week, I don't know, in the middle of March, we had 3 customers.
Yeah.
But then we had 10, and then we had 15, and then we had 30. And people are starting to open up again. The volumes are still low, but everybody's trying to figure out how to work in the new normal.
Yeah.
So yes, there are roses available, and there'll be more as time goes by.
Yeah. Actually, we can see Europe opening up more and more, luckily. The flower shops in Holland have been open all the time. The guys with web shops, they did great turnovers. I think some of them even told me that they had the best Mother's Day ever. But that's only Holland. France is opening up since yesterday. Germany is opening up. So the market is slowly opening up again. So that offers some possibilities to for the coming period. So yeah, let's hope that this is soon over. Oh, Caroline will send you an email. Me or Joey? I think she wants the bunch of roses.
Well, she's always been wonderful with Alexandra Farms. She's been to our farm a couple of times. She's helped the Association of Colombian Exporters market the flowers in the UK. She's been a terrific presence for us in Colombia.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you about a rose called Yves Piaget. I think that if you were going to assign one rose with the origin of having garden roses as cut flowers, it would have to be Yves Piaget. And the story starts with a French chain of retail shops called Au Nom de la Rose. They used to have 27 stores throughout France. I think they're smaller now, but the owners or the people who started that up, when they saw Yves Piaget in somebody's garden, they went nuts. And it really is a beautiful rose. It's huge, it's fragrant, it's hot pink. It looks more like a peony than a rose. It's a fabulous rose. They contract growers in Kenya to contract grow a full hectare of it only for their stores exclusively.
Wow.
And I think that that's what triggered the interest in garden roses worldwide, because everybody else wanted fragrant roses, everybody else wanted different colors and different shapes.
Yeah.
And that's how. Can you hear the fire engine? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear them. Yeah. I mean,
Maybe it was something I said.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're looking for me. They only hear my voice and they already they come out. So.
So Yves Piaget was one of the first
Okay.
that was exported from Colombia, Ecuador, and Kenya into France and Europe as a garden cut rose.
Okay. Johan Close is asking you, Joe, could you please tell a story about Princess Mayuki? I visited Aleksandra many times in the time from PFC. You need to tell this.
Yes, it is a wonderful story, and the breeder of Princess Miyuki is located in Hiroshima, Japan. And in one of the after one of the trade shows, I took a week to get started relationships with, and one of them was this breeder in Hiroshima. So we took the bullet train, me and Kazuyo Asayama, who is our agent in Japan. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
We took this bullet train into Hiroshima, and we were picked up by the breeder in Hiroshima. And as we're climbing up on the car up the road to their greenhouses, he tells me the story of his father having seen the flash of light when the atomic bomb that the Americans, even though the people disappeared, emotional, and I'm thinking whether I should cry. It would be if he would give me varieties at all. Strong man here. Anyway, a visit to Hiroshima is just emotional, beautiful green mountain, and I guess that's the Pacific Ocean. On the one side, we have a view of Hiroshima. On the other, and right on top of all of these mountains are these greenhouses where his father did the breeding, and he does the breeding, and they've been doing the breeding for years of these amazing garden roses
Yeah.
with fragrance and with cup shape. And one of those was Princess Miyuki.
Okay. Yeah, you really travel all over the world to find the most special varieties.
Yeah, we sure do it, and it's a great meeting the different personalities behind the breeding. Uh, 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 the Japanese are wonderful people, so you get to know the culture, and you kind of see it inside the rose. So it's a pure white. It isn't a cup shape. It's more of a floppy spiral shape, but it has an amazing fragrance.
Yeah.
You find some of the culture in the roses they breed.
But yeah, I mean that's great. I mean, and I think every of the 60 varieties you have has a story like this. So
They do.
we might maybe we plan another episode and tell about all the varieties.
Yep, we can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, we just go from A to Z. So if people are interested, let us know, and then do we plan another episode. Now it's fantastic to see your energy and your smile, Joey. I mean, you've got so much knowledge, so much stories about the roses. Oh, yeah, there you are again. I mean that's great. That's an inspiration for everybody, I think.
But we have
To
to remember that this will pass. It is just a matter of time, and we will go back to having a robust and healthy flower industry.
can you say it again because I
Did you?
I lost you there. Can you see me? Can you hear me? No, you can't hear me. I quickly reconnect them. I think you wanted to say some not last words, but and then I lost you a little bit over there because the audio stopped. So can you please repeat it one more time?
Yes, I was saying that we will get through this. That we will have a active and successful and healthy flower industry soon. It's just a matter of time. And at Alexandra Farms, we are going to produce beautiful roses for the designers to have tools to create beauty themselves.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end this live stream. Don't forget the Garden Rose Design Contest. Get to the website, sign in, and be creative. And yeah, let's support Alexandra Farms. They support you with the most beautiful roses. So let's support them with buying them and selling them. So Joey, thank you very much for joining the live stream. Hope to see you soon in real life again, and then we have a drink. Yeah, and everybody, thank you for watching. It was great to have you. On Friday, actually, we're not having a design contest, but we're going to do the first online Flower Circus show. So it's going to be an hour packed with floral fun. We'll tell you about the products that we use. And actually, we're already talking about doing this monthly. And hopefully soon, this one was planned quite quickly, but hopefully next time we can also use some garden roses from Aleksandra to show you what we can do as a flower circus. So thank you everybody for watching, and hope to see you soon.